Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to this edition of More with Moeller. I'm meteorologist Craig Moeller, and I am delighted to have my colleague Taylor Stephenson with me this morning. We're both meteorologists here at 13 News Now in Southeast Virginia, Northeast North Carolina. It's Hampton Roads, Virginia Beach, Norfolk, and all of our surrounding cities. We got a lot going on this morning.
Yeah, we do. Finally, we saw some type of rain yesterday. That was a relief. I was like getting ready to go to sleep Sunday night, Monday morning, and I was like, oh, raindrops finally hitting my ears.
So much of the eastern part of the country has been so dry.
Right.
We talked about it. We're going to dive into that. Here's some of the other topics. We've got another system likely to develop and develop quickly here in the tropics. We went yesterday, there was like a 20 to 30% chance of development to 40%, and now it's all the way up to 80% the chances for this thing to develop in the Western Caribbean. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. We don't want to get out over our skis.
Right.
But some of the models, longer range, do kind of bring it across Cuba and potentially towards South Florida. We'll see. We'll talk more about that. We'll show you the models and kind of how this thing is playing out. Aside from that, we're also going to discuss numerous reasons to look up and check out the night sky. There's some really cool things going on. We'll talk about the forecast for the skies as we go, not just here in Hampton Roads, but all across the country. A lot of folks joining us from all over the place, checking this out here on our 13 News Now Plus app. We also have those much needed rain chances we were talking about. So you were looking into that. We've got a deeper dive as we go along. Let's start off though with the tropics, and this is our first area. You know, Florida got hit so hard, Taylor.
Yes, we're talking about Helene and Milton, and now we have this area in the tropics. You know, hurricane season ends November 30th.
Yeah, you take a look here at the typical activity, and you see that surge coming up around, September 10th or so, the peak of the season. Now that we're getting into November, it typically dies down. So, you'd think we're going to catch a break, but there's still some stuff to worry about.
Right, and you typically see this stuff kind of churning up in the Caribbean during this time of year as well. So thankfully, though, a lot of the activity really starting to go down, and thankfully we haven't exhausted our name list yet either.
Right, the early season forecast really calling for a tremendous amount of activity. It's kind of the season's actually underperformed some of those initial outlooks, but the bottom line is we're not done yet. Let's take a look at this. We'll take this graphic full, and I'm going to walk over to the big board and talk to you a little bit more about what's going on. Again, in the Caribbean, we have an area that is trying to come together, and you can see back down just south of Haiti, this cluster of clouds right here. So as we take a look again across the central part of the Caribbean, this is the area that I am most concerned with. We'll zoom in and take a look. It's not well organized right now, but we are seeing some signs of convection and more organization here just south of Haiti, and here's Jamaica. So here's what's going on right now. The latest from the Hurricane Center, now with that 80% chance of development. Again, it was looking like it would take a little time to develop, but they've gone ahead and gone up to 40%, the chances within the next 48 hours. So pretty good chances that this gets better organized as we go along, and then eventually that 80% chance of development. You take a look at these water temperatures. We're still in the low to mid 80s, so it is very, very warm out there. I want to show you the GFS model. This is the American Global Model. Call it GFS. It's the Global Forecast System. And you can see how that area of low pressure, kind of a broad low initially. This is through Wednesday early evening. It's when we get into Thursday here that it really starts to ramp up and it starts to look a lot more ominous. Now, I'm thinking about folks in Nicaragua and Honduras here. If this thing is spinning right here this low and it's bringing these winds in, you've got to worry about some of the coastal issues right along Honduras and back towards Belize. Maybe Mexico, areas around the Caymans. They're all going to be watching this carefully to see how it develops. Now, you'll notice it doesn't really progress and just slam into Central America. No, the models kind of hold it up here. This is Friday afternoon, and look at how it really ramps up that intensity. It gets even more intense as we head into Saturday. So this is a concern. Again, this next system really becoming intense and developing as we head into Saturday and Saturday afternoon, and it's sitting there kind of retrograding or sliding back just a little bit. Now, again, this is one of the models models, the American model. You'll notice it then moves it up to the north and towards West Cuba. This is through Tuesday. Where it goes after that, we'll have to see, but I got to tell you, the GFS actually carries it back up a little bit more towards Florida. So we need to watch it again. The area hit so hard by Milton. I am not saying at this point, this far out, a full week away, that this is going to happen. If you live in these tropical areas, the forecast on these things change all the time. But I do want you to know, again, if you have any interest, or if you know anybody, maybe you're traveling or you have friends that are traveling in this part of the world, and if you're in Florida or really anywhere, we're just not out of the woods yet with the tropics. And if this system were to come back up again, potentially another issue, maybe towards the Keys or possibly South Florida. That's what the GFS model says. Let's compare the European model to the GFS, and you can see how both of them start to pick this up. There's the American model there in yellow. The Euro is in red. And as those two kind of go, you see they both kind of bring it in, start to intensify it. Now, the GFS really, really runs with this. They go full gangbusters on this. The Euro certainly projects a stronger system developing there. This is through Saturday. And then as we go into Sunday, both of them really, really close in their kind of output here in their solution. They both retrograde a little bit, then they both start to come here. So confidence is high, and it's really, really ramping up that we're going to get that next name system developing, and then as it goes after that, potentially up towards West Cuba. The next name, and if this thing plays out the way the model suggests, it is Sarah. Obviously, this is something we're going to be watching very, very carefully. All right, we're going to change gears and talk about this reason to check out the night sky. You're looking, you're going, Craig, that's a nice big white dot you got there on the screen, not looking all that exciting. Well, let me tell you, that white dot is our weather symbol for the full moon. And that's one of the things we want to talk to you about. We have a supermoon that is going to take place. It's going to actually occur Thursday night into early Friday, but the moon will reach its full lunar phase on Friday. So you want to check out the supermoon Friday evening, and it's just awesome. This is actually the fourth supermoon of the year. This one, the last one was in October, and this one, it's going to come about 225,000 miles away from Earth. Basically what's happening here is the moon is at its closest point in its orbit to the Earth. It's what we call perigee, and it's occurring with that full moon. Look at how spectacular this is. In the photography, I mean, it gives a little, it's almost a little illusion here. It's not like the moon's going to dwarf every plane you see, but pretty cool.
It's really fantastic. It's incredible, too, that the next time we'll see this phenomenon again is this time next year, so October of 2025. So try to get out there, try to see it, because it will be another 11 months to a year before the next one comes around. Yeah,
you take a look, it's going to be a little bit bigger than normal. It's also going to be a little bit brighter, and if the weather conditions are nice, and I think they will be for Hampton Roads Friday evening, I'm going to show you the national map, and you can take a look at what areas may be able to see it a little more clearly than others, but it should be really something to see. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit more about why this is so special. Let's take this graphic full, okay? This is Friday's beaver moon. Do you know why we call it a beaver moon?
So I was listening to you earlier. I do listen to you, Craig, and what we're talking about is
I appreciate that.
I do listen to you. Beavers usually they go into their lodges during this time of the year.
Right. They build their little lodges and their little dams, and then they go in there and they kind of hunker down this time of year.
Right.
So it would make sense. I always laugh, we've got like the sturgeon moon and the strawberry moon. Some of them make perfect sense, and then some of them are like, okay, that's kind of cool.
Right.
But this makes sense, right? So it's the beaver moon. Now, one thing that's really neat about this supermoon occurring at this time, and I was doing a little bit of research on this, because it's happening in mid-November, the sun angle on the moon really accentuates some of the craters. So it's an even more vivid kind of expression of some of the things going on the moon's surface. So again, if you've got some good photography equipment, I always try to get it on my iPhone.
Yeah, it never works for me. It never works.
I get all excited. It does okay, but it's not like, the guys that have the great cameras really check it out. It should be even more spectacular than normal. So a couple quick facts here, okay? So as I mentioned, the full moon is appearing at its closest approach to Earth, okay, what we call perigee, all right? And normally you take a look, okay, the moon's 238,855 miles from us, okay? But this supermoon, all right, is going to be about 225,000 miles, so it's about almost 13.9, thousand miles away. So there you go. I mean, closer rather. So the closer moon also will impact the tides, but not a lot. Only a couple inches, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting, especially when you have this a place near the coast like we are, where you might just notice a little bit if you're out at the beach, but definitely a little too cold for a lot of people to really head out there right now.
And when those water levels come up, an inch or two can make a difference for some areas. I mean, if it's the difference between it staying in a bank and coming maybe over a bulkhead or something, it's something to watch. But at this point, and I looked ahead for the tide gauges for Hampton Roads, we are not anticipating any trouble based on the forecast models right now for the tide. So that's good. But again, those tides running just a little bit higher. And remember, again, it occurs with the rising moon as you check that out Friday. And I do think the weather's going to work out for Hampton Roads. So I wanted to share that. Now, there's one other thing that I really think is so cool.
A lot.
Yeah. So we had the supermoon, the Beaver supermoon, all right? But it's occurring between a couple of other things going on. We're talking about a couple meteor showers. Right. All right. Our other colleague, Evan Stewart, was looking into the best ways to check out the Taurid meteor showers. There was one, the southern Taurids were last week, the northern Taurids are this week, and Evan has a little bit more to share with us on that.
Every year, from roughly late October through mid-November, the Taurid meteor shower peaks. And while the Taurids are not normally known as an active meteor shower, they can sometimes produce the most stunning fireballs of any shower. You just have to be lucky to spot one. Now, normally this weak meteor shower goes unnoticed. Even under the best conditions, you might see 5 to 10 meteors per hour. And even though the rate of meteors per hour is very slow, the Taurids are known for a high proportion of bright fireballs. Oftentimes, these are the ones that'll make the news, captured on dash cams and doorbell cameras. Now, fireballs are typically caused by meteors more than 3 feet long, making them appear brighter as they burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. A larger meteor takes longer to burn up, creating a brighter, longer streak across the sky. And the Taurids move at a relatively slow speed, and that means those rare, bright fireballs have a long flight path. So if you plan on catching the Taurids, you'll need to pack a little patience, get a comfortable chair, bundle up, and look overhead.
Love it, Evan. Yeah, and I got to tell you, they're not as frequent as he just mentioned. But man, if you catch one, when you see a fireball go across, it will take your breath away.
It's stunning.
Like, oh, there it is. It is so, so cool. Don Sipple, all right, one of our regular viewers here at 13 News Now, what we call a daybreaker. He gets up and watches our daybreak show all the time. And he sent in this picture. He posted it. This is the night sky over Norfolk. He said, I went out looking for the Taurids this morning. No luck this morning. You can see a few stars in his picture there. The skies were clear. We had ideal conditions. But as Evan just mentioned, you may only see 5 of those things in an hour. So you really have to just be kind of chill and lay back. Sometimes you're looking like this, you'll wear yourself out. You just kind of need to open it up and just check out the sky and see if you can catch a fireball.
And even when you're watching it at night, make sure to give yourself an extra few minutes to get your eyes adjusted. Sometimes it takes a little bit for our eyes to really focus in. So maybe give yourself 10 minutes just to adjust to the darkness.
I like it. Now, there's one other thing that I'll mention. Okay, we mentioned the Taurids. We also have the Leonids coming up. So the thing that's so cool, we got the supermoon, we got the Taurids kind of winding down. And one other quick note on the Taurids, they don't have as clearly defined a peak. Some meteor showers, you know it's going to come at this time. It's going to be fast and furious, then gone. Sometimes, like either side of these peak times, you could have them kind of lingering. So just kind of keep an eye to the sky. Maybe you catch the supermoon and one of those fireballs. It'd be awesome. The Leonids start later in the weekend, so the Leonid meteor showers. All right, we got to come back to the business. We go from cool stuff like checking out the sky to some heavier stuff and the dry conditions across the country.
Right. So majority of the country right now under some type of dry conditions, whether that's abnormal drought in that bright yellow all the way to extreme and exceptional drought. That's spanning from the east to the west coast. That's why we have wildfires on both coasts here in the U.S. But for here in Virginia, our drought's getting worse, unfortunately. We have been struggling to get any type of rainfall. We finally did it, but it's not by much.
Yeah. You know, we get a little bit and we feel better about it. But what we really wanted to do is take a deeper dive into these dry conditions. And I want to start off by showing, and let's take this graphic full again, because I think this is really interesting to note. What we have here, we started off pretty close to average, a little bit dry in January, had about average rainfall in February. Then as we got into March, it was record rainfall, 6.61 inches. We had 2.14 inches, a deficit in April. Then we had some more rain, kind of a wet May. All right, you take a look ahead to June, a little bit drier. So far, not a big deal here, but with July being one of the wetter months, again, on record with those departures, 4.6 inches above average, you could see, okay, at this point, we are really, really good. I know at one point we were over 10 inches above average for the total. Well, we've taken it. We were dry in August, dry in September, really dry in October, and into November so far, it's been dry. So we are 0.96 inches above average for the year because it was so wet during really these 2 months, but this one as well, you know, we had that surplus, but it has been so dry. So this is the big concern here. Again, we could use some rain. And Taylor, I know you were looking at this. Again, we can take this graphic full because I want to talk to Taylor a little bit more about some of the research she did. Looking back through November, we've had this warm stretch. What were you telling me about the rainfall that we just got yesterday at 1700s?
Right, so 1700ths of an inch. This is the rainfall we got from the cold front we had moving through Sunday night into Monday morning, right? This rainfall is very, very little, but this actually surpassed all of October's total rainfall for the entire month by 1100ths of an inch. So we didn't even get a tenth of an inch of rain in October.
Crazy.
On top of that, this is the first time, well, compared to yesterday, 42 days later of seeing a tenth of an inch of rainfall. The last time we saw this small of an amount, but just around a tenth of an inch, that was back September 30th, where we got 0.3 of an inch. So it's been 43 days now.
It's just been an incredible stretch. And folks, you know, for a while, you're loving it because you're like, hey, it's beautiful weather out there.
Right.
Everything's nice. But the reality is you get to a point where you really do need it. And we were both saying, you know, it was kind of cool to wake up Monday and to hear that pitter patter, you know, whether it's on your window or you heard it on your roof or whatever, it was pretty cool. And honestly, I think motorists did a pretty good job. There was some concern about the drive into work. They did all right. Now we take a look ahead. There are opportunities for rain coming up Thursday night and into Friday. And we're going to continue to watch this. I think the best chances will come during the overnight hours. That's why you see both these numbers up here a little bit higher. Chances for rain on Thursday around 40% during the day. I think we'll see scattered stuff later on. It rains overnight, so we will see rain overnight. And then on Friday during the daylight, you know, the last of the showers will kind of wind down. Take a look at this, Taylor. These are some of the projections here for the rainfall totals through the afternoon on Friday. And
finally.
Again, yeah, you may want to take this full again just so you can see it. Virginia Beach picking up about an inch. You can see Norfolk about an inch here, Taylor. So things are looking a little more promising for a more significant amount of rain.
Right.
Again, this is just one model, the GFS model, but you get a feel for the type of rain that we could see. They're pretty significant, right?
Finally, but it's going to be hard. Places like the peninsula is in a severe drought. So while this is promising, it's like we need this consistently at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a little encouraging, but it's not completely the end of the drought situation altogether. Here's the Euro, same thing. You know, the GFS said about an inch. The Euro actually a little bit more.
I appreciate that. Any rain we can squeeze out, I'm here for it. So I appreciate that.
And it looks like there might even be some heavier amounts if the Euro is correct, looking at Franklin and Edenton, some of those places in excess of 2 inches. So that would certainly be encouraging. Now, you mentioned our drought situation here. You know, last week we got the drought monitor Thursday morning, and it brought that severe drought down through Accomack County into parts of Northampton and the northern neck, while the south side Hampton Roads, the moderate drought extended west to include areas out towards Franklin, Surrey County, Isle of Wight. So this continues to expand.
It does. And again, this is not just something specific to southeastern Virginia. If you live in places like the central parts of the country or out west, you are still dealing with these really dry conditions, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, it's been so tough. And again, as we look ahead, I guess here's a little bit of hope for areas, you know, like you were mentioning, the Ohio River Valley, parts of Ohio and West Virginia here in extreme to exceptional drought. We are expecting wetter than normal conditions from the Great Lakes down through Florida. Again, this is the 8 to 14 day outlook. So again, just some hope coming down the road that this area will see some rain. We may see slightly above normal precip, it looks like, along the East Coast, and then out across the Great Plains, maybe a little bit more rain as well. Looks like it's going to be drier in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, and we were watching and looking at some models earlier going back to the system in the tropics, right, that may interact with a front coming through the same time that actually might help to bring some much needed rainfall to places around the south and the mid-Atlantic.
It's a great point. You know, we don't want to have Florida or anybody get hit with another tropical system, but those tropical systems do bring some of that deeper moisture to some other areas that could actually use some of that rain. So again, still hoping no more tropical trouble, but if we are going to get some of that deep moisture, I hope it finds some areas that do need the rain, because a lot of folks still do.
Right, and that happened with Helene. Remember, Helene came through, and so places like Georgia, parts of the Carolinas weren't in the drought initially because they had so much rainfall from that system.
Yeah, but then you get too much in some places, like what we saw in Asheville, and it's catastrophic.
Exactly.
You look here at temperature outlook, above normal for the Northeast, and you can see below normal in the Southwest. Just wanted to share that 8 to 14 day outlook. All right, you ready to take a look at the week ahead? Let's get into that, and we can take our maps, and let's start off. I'm going to jump over here and talk about where we've already seen some snow. You look here, Colorado and New Mexico. They were hit with the heavy snow. So these are current snow depths observed across the country. And you notice the East Coast, really no snow to speak of. A little bit in upstate New York, very minor amounts reported still on the ground, really just trace amounts. But you get out to parts of Colorado and into New Mexico, and here you're talking more than a foot of snow for these areas shaded in purple, up to 18 to 24 inches in some of these areas where you get those brighter pinks showing up. So again, some heavy snow, very early season to get that type of heavy snow over eastern Colorado and New Mexico. But that's where they got it. We also have snow on the mountains up in parts of Washington State and Oregon. A little bit of snow filling in for parts of California once you get over the mountains and back over parts of Nevada. You can see along the Wasatch and into the Uinta Range there in Utah. They're getting some snow, or they have snow on the ground. Snow up towards Jackson Hole and parts of Idaho as well into Montana. Absolutely gorgeous parts of the country. What's coming this week? Let's take a look at it as we get into the big picture here. You'll notice satellite and radar images still showing some snow flying back across parts of Idaho and Utah. Down to the south, a little bit of rain showing up down here around parts of Louisiana, near Gulf Shores and Mobile. You can see some of the wet weather down that way. Most of the eastern part of the country, the mid-Atlantic, quiet around the Great Lakes, very quiet back in the central U.S. Went ahead, put some surface features on. This is just a look at the European model, but this will give you a feel for what's coming up over the coming week. High pressure is going to dominate out here to the west. We've got a storm system bringing more moisture into the northwest, northern parts of California. Storm system taking shape as it works across the upper Midwest, dragging a boundary down through the Mississippi Valley and bringing heavy rain to parts of Mississippi, Tennessee, into Kentucky and Indiana. I think as we take a look here, we're in for a couple of beautiful days in Hampton Roads and along the mid-Atlantic up through New York City. But again, some of these areas could use some rain. Doesn't look like we're going to see any of that through Wednesday evening. Thursday looks pretty good to start, but look at this. This energy here is eventually going to kind of transfer towards the mid-Atlantic region, and we're going to see this low kind of swinging offshore. The rain showers do develop later in the day on Thursday. High pressure takes over for the south central U.S. Again, that unsettled weather up in the Pacific Northwest as that area of low pressure moves along and up into Canada. What we're going to find, again, this high pressure firmly dominant back across the central U.S. That energy transfers through the mid-Atlantic region. Little unsettled weather up here in the northeast as this area of low pressure kind of brings some moisture back in. But watch what happens here. These are going to kind of loop around each other a little bit. This low is going to move up to the north. This one's going to kind of come back. Still unsettled for parts of the northeast. High pressure over the Great Lakes region and down across parts of the southwest. That's how things are playing out as we get into Saturday. So Friday night into early Saturday, we're looking pretty good in those parts of the country. Again, watching this low offshore because what's going to happen, the euro kind of brings this back. It takes that other low and kind of eats it up. These two kind of merge together, and we've got some pretty windy conditions up around Halifax and back up towards Maine along the coast here. As you can see, again, high pressure still dominating along the Gulf Coast, and this high kind of bringing some moisture back up into Arizona and New Mexico. Still, it looks like a little unsettled for the Pacific Northwest. So that's how things are looking. Let's take a look right now. We'll go live to this, and Taylor will talk some more about our local weather here in Hampton Roads.
Well, honestly, it's a beautiful start or middle part of the morning today as you see a lot of cloud cover that we had from the beginning of the work week moved out. We are talking partly cloudy skies, a lot of sunshine going around Hampton Roads and northeastern North Carolina.
It's so pretty there. This is one of our priority automotive sky views. And again, you can see just a few cumulus clouds kind of dotting the sky there, but generally mainly sunny conditions. And that's how it's going to play out. As we get into the future cast, you can see those temperatures staying cool.
They are, but that wind chill is going to be something we think about today just because breezes gusts up to 25 to 30 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Not the most pleasant as you get outside.
It'll feel a little cool out there, especially near the water, but it's going to be the overnight where we drop down some inland areas, I think, eventually finding their way early tomorrow morning down into the mid-30s. Look inland. You can see Emporia, Wakefield. You want to talk about some wind chills. Now you're cooking with temperatures in the 30s and those winds still gusty. It won't be as windy inland as it is along the coast, but obviously we are still looking at some breezy conditions out there. So that's what we're looking at there as we get into Wednesday. Again, a lot of sunshine, but our highs only in the mid-50s.
I mean, if you were really wanting winter, it's really going to be in full swing basically starting on Wednesday, but it's the only day to do so as we have our next system rolling through.
Now, I'm going to call Taylor out here because there are people, we can come back on camera for a second. There are people watching from all around the country and around the world. Okay, this is streaming out on YouTube, and we've got it on our 13 News Now Plus app, so you can always access this. You're talking about it feeling like winter with temperatures.
Yes,
you need to tell them where you're from.
Okay, so that might be my southern bias. I'm from Atlanta, so anything under 60 degrees is getting a little cold for me.
I was going to say, people right now watching from the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, are going, are you kidding me? 50s, we're putting on swimsuits and finding a lake to go swimming. I
know. So. 50s for me means you need to be bundled up underneath 3 blankets, heat on in the house. You are not going outside.
I just thought I would give her a little bit of trouble. Yeah, all of a sudden Georgia jumped out there. I was like, all right, Taylor.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
But it is chilly for sure. And certainly these temperatures are below average. So I'm just giving you a little bit of trouble. Our normal high here in Hampton Roads is around 62, 63 degrees. Tomorrow, temperatures in the low to mid 50s. It will be a cool one. Now you see what else is creeping back in. And remember, we were talking Thursday night into Friday. Pretty good chances, maybe an inch or so of rain.
Which would be very beneficial.
Yeah, let's take a look at how this is going to come into play. You can see how that model kind of starts to bring some stuff in Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. Looks like the one model stopped there, but you can see how that moisture does come in. We've got a couple layers going on there with this graphic. Through the overnight Thursday night and into early Friday, more rain. So we do need it. Again, if it comes through, and most of it occurs at night, that wouldn't be a bad thing.
No, not at all.
People are off the roads overnight. That's when it looks like that heaviest rain would come through. Quick heads up again for our local waters here, and this is for much of the mid-Atlantic, really. We've got the windy conditions behind that front. Small craft advisories up for the bay and the ocean. Those seas 5 to 6 feet with an occasional 8-footer.
A little choppy.
Yeah, a little choppy out there. Low tide for Hampton Roads right around noon, and then high tide coming just before 6 o'clock as we head into the evening. All right, let's get into some more forecast details. Again, we've already been around 64 degrees this morning, but I think through the afternoon, pretty much low 60s to mid 60s. A lot of sunshine.
And mild. Very typical for this time of year.
Yeah, not bad at all. Same thing up in the peninsula over to the eastern shore, a little cooler. You'll notice the wind symbol there for Chincoteague and Cape Charles on the eastern shore. I would say any of the areas that are very close to the bay or the ocean, even the sounds, just know that it's going to be a little gusty at times. Those winds 25 to, say, 30 miles per hour. North Carolina, mostly sunny, upper 60s.
So a little bit warmer. So if I want to get my warm fix in, I need to head south.
Drive down to northeast North Carolina. They got you covered.
Yes.
Some good food down there, too. That Carolina
barbecue, I've heard.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, we'll take a look at the forecast tonight. 45 the low. It's going to be clear and chilly. Again, inland areas, patchy frost possible.
Right.
And again, Evan had that in the forecast last night, and I was like, really? Then I took a look at those numbers, and I was like, out towards I-95, places like Emporia, Petersburg, some of those westernmost communities, they're going to be low to mid 30s. Even if you're in the mid 30s on the actual temperature gauge we put up, that's taken at a 2-meter height. So with that colder air kind of settling down to the ground, there'll likely be some patchy frost.
Yeah, it will be a really cold morning. Make sure to bundle up as you're heading out and about. Like Craig said, especially places closer to I-95.
Definitely want to do that. All right, for tomorrow, we're back up to 56. Again, we'll say breezy and cool, unless you're from Georgia and you say, wow, it's cold.
It's cold.
Yeah, it will be cool. 56 degrees, no doubt, mostly sunny. All right, here's the 7-day forecast for Hampton Roads. That shower development coming later Thursday. Overnight rain will occur Thursday night into early Friday. I think by Friday sunrise, most of the wet weather will be winding down, but we'll refine that as we get closer to Thursday and Friday and let folks know if we need to stretch out the rain time or shorten it. We'll see.
Well, the good thing is most of that rain gone by the time you get out for the weekend. The weekend looks fabulous. Middle 60s, lots of sunshine, no worries.
Should be really, really nice. Want to remind you can find me on social media, Facebook, Craig Moeller TV, and that's on Instagram and X, 13 Craig Moeller. Taylor, I'm sorry, I don't have a board for you here.
It's
Where
okay.
can I find you on Instagram?
My Instagram name is very unique. If you want to find me on Instagram, it's at TDStars, TDSTARZ.
All right.
Yes.
That is really,
Yes.
I know I follow you, but I didn't realize where I was following.
Yeah, it's a background story. If y'all want the story, make sure to message me and ask me the story behind my username.
There you go. And ask her why she thinks 50s is super cold for winter.
50s is cold. You add on a 25-mile-per-hour breeze. Yeah, I'm going to be with the heavy coat tomorrow. So
I won't fight you on that. All right. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining us. Again, this is a deeper dive into the weather. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Taylor, thanks so much.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, be sure and check back in with Taylor and Hunter. I'll tell you, I'm actually going to be off for a few days, taking a little vacay. But yeah, I'll be back in a week. And again, you want to check back in for more of these More with Moeller updates here on 13 News Now Plus and on YouTube. You guys have a great one.
Bye.